Hi, my name is Griff, and welcome to Animal Behavior Explained. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the reasons why people study animal behavior. The first and simplest answer is that people are just curious about the world around them. That is the explanation for a lot of things, especially a lot of science, but it is especially so for animal behavior. That answer is why I got into the study in the first place. I grew up watching nature documentaries and TV shows, and I was always fascinated with some of the explanations for why animals did the things that they did, especially the crazier looking behaviors like some mating displays and anti-predator behavior. We as a species just like to explain the world around us, and sometimes the answers that we get lead to more questions, and really that's what science is all about. Looking at behaviors, especially the more stereotypical behaviors like instincts, can provide insight into how animals have changed in response to the world around them. Outside pressures such as social structures, other species, or even climate change have shown to radically change how a species reacts to the world around them. Looking at behaviors is one way for researchers to understand how evolution works, but it also helps researchers to understand speciation. Behavioral differences is one of the ways that species are defined as being different than other groups. Sometimes closely related species can look wildly different from one another, and sometimes it's the reverse. Two species can look very similar to each other, but have no close relation whatsoever. Looking beyond appearances and at behavior is one way for researchers to determine whether or not two animals are of the same species or different species or subspecies. Depends on the designation. Looking at behavior is, of course, not the only way that two animals can be determined to be of the same species or different, but of course that is the one that applies mostly to this channel. Understanding animal behavior allows for conservationists to create plans to help save animals from extinction. One of the ways to do this is to compare previous or typical animal behavior to current behavior. Say changes in migration, what time of the day the animals are awake, when, where they're eating, even sometimes sexual behavior. Looking at changes in behaviors can help indicate if there are outside forces changing animal behavior and to what extent it is changing animals. Having this understanding of typical species behavior within an ecosystem can allow conservationists to tailor their plans according to what areas they are indeed protecting. Looking at behavior is a way to understand the mind without cutting anything open. Research into animal behavior has helped us to understand how the brain really operates, especially when it pertains to learning. Behavior is a measurable way to see if an animal has learned or not. Seeing in what context an animal will actually perform a behavior allows us to have some insight into the factors that limit learning and performance of learned behavior. Was there enough reinforcement? Did it actually learn enough? Is it scared of performing a behavior in front of another animal? This not only allows us to understand the brain at large, but also understand human behavior. Comparative cognition studies between humans and non-human animals allows us to understand just how similar we are to other animals, as well as how unique we are as a species. And finally, studying animal behavior helps us take care of animals. As I said before, looking at behavior provides an indication of the internal state of an animal. This is important especially because animals cannot verbalize what emotions they might be having like we can. Though there are broad behaviors that we can look at to indicate emotions such as pacing or self-mutilation, we have to be careful to look at each species individually lest we misinterpret an animal's mood. For example, tail wagging in dogs generally means that that animal is happy, But tail wagging in cats means that you need to get the fuck away. Animal behavior as indicators of animal welfare is not only important for domesticated animals like pets and livestock, but for animals that are considered exotic and are living in zoos and wildlife rehabilitation centers. Having some indication of what emotion an animal is feeling can mean life or death in some situations, either for a person or for the animal itself. So this was a very, very broad and brief overview of why people study animal behavior and why studying it is important. Ethology, the formal study of animal behavior, it's such a useful field that it tends to get subsumed into other fields that cover similar topics. Because a lot of other fields tend to go over animal behavior in one way or another, there aren't too many animal behavior related channels, let alone videos. So that's what I hope to do with my own channel, is to have these explanations for different animal behaviors and how people study animal behavior and some of the history behind it. If you like this video and at least what I'm trying to do with this channel, please like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions about really anything, feel free to comment below. I also have some social media for this channel if you want to pop a question in there or start following me. Should be, tweeting and posting pictures pretty soon. But thank you very much for coming here and watching my video. See you next time.